As a child, I always gravitated Great start. As a kid, I've always kind of gravitated towards more calming and simplistic media. Shows like Max and Ruby, Franklin, Charlie and Lola, and Miffy were always kind of my go-tos, mainly because I often struggled with sensory processing, and shows like that were always super calming to me. I actually have ended up in a lot of parenting circles on Facebook and Instagram. I don't know why, because I don't have any kids. Somehow I've ended up over there. I've noticed that many parents nowadays are starting to show their kids more understimulating and less flashy children's shows, mainly the ones that they grew up with throughout the 2000s. However, one show that I watched quite a bit growing up that I don't see anyone really talking about when this is brought up is Maisy. Maisy was a personal favorite of mine. I really loved the calming colors, relaxing music, and just overall chill vibe of the characters. Younger me just found it really soothing and relaxing. However, I have not seen or really talked about the show much since I was a kid. I feel like that's kind of a given. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of cover a brief history of the character and the books, as well as just talking about it and making fun of it just a little bit, just a smidge, now that I'm an adult. Maisy Mouse was created by British children's author and illustrator Lucy Cousins. I think it's interesting to note that Cousins has been releasing children's books since 1990, and her latest book is actually set to be released later this year. So she's been releasing children's books for about 35 years at this point, which is pretty impressive. Most of her library is aimed towards children who are between the ages of 0 and about maybe 5 or 6. I actually remember these being some of the first books that I was able to read on my own when I was a young kid. Apart from learning how to read, the books were also beneficial in teaching kids colors, numbers, animals, and just general words for the speech development of infants and young children. While she does have a variety of characters featured in her stories, her most well-known series is, you guessed it, Maisy Mouse. Maisy is a cute and curious young mouse who likes to go swimming, play dress-up, play with animals, and spend her time with her friends, who also frequently show up in the books alongside her. Some of her friends that were included in the books were Cyril the Squirrel, Charlie the Crocodile, Eddie Elephant, and Tallulah the Chick. The Maisy books differ depending on the reading level, but most of them would involve Maisy and her friends playing together and experiencing things the average child reader could relate to. For example, in the first Maisy book, Maisy Goes Swimming, Maisy goes to her first swim lesson with her friends. I actually do think it's interesting to point out that in this book, Maisy and her friends speak in full sentences, like in English, that we can understand, and if you've seen the show, you know why that's a little strange. I vividly remember walking into the library every weekend with my dad and always checking out a different Maisy book. I also remember checking out Zaza's Baby Brother on multiple occasions, which is another Lucy Cousins book that I really liked. It's basically just older sister Zaza has a baby brother and she needs to get adjusted to having a new sibling. Again, very, very normal kid stuff, but it's important that kids have books that they can relate to. Again, as someone who struggled with sensory processing my entire life, as a young kid, I loved how simple yet pleasing these books were. It wasn't overwhelming, there weren't too many words, and the art was just relaxing. Maisy Mouse. Maisy would eventually go on to have her own TV show that would air on CITV in the UK in early 1999. The show would then make its debut on the US channel called Cubo. I've actually never heard of Cubo, but apparently it was a kids channel that was on air from 2006 throughout all the way up till 2021, which is really surprising because again, I've just never heard of it. The show also saw many reruns throughout the 2000s on Nick Jr. and Noggin. I was surprised to learn that Maisy only lasted for a single season with only 26 episodes. I'm not entirely sure why, but I always thought the show went on for at least 5 seasons. I feel like there's just so many episodes of the show, but it could just be because the show is split up into multiple different 5-minute segments that it just makes the series feel longer than it is. It feels like kid shows, more specifically preschool shows, have a really weird way of airing episodes, I've noticed. I feel like most of the time they would just air 1 or 2 seasons and then they would continue to rerun the same 20 to 40 episodes over and over again for a decade before pulling the show off the air completely. I'm going on way too much about this, it doesn't matter. Each episode was a nice slow pace, included a relaxing reggae type soundtrack, and they also made the choice to include a narrator with a really soothing voice.
Some milk for little black cat. And some milk for Maisy, too.
Has anyone else noticed that this was like a really common theme with children's media back in the day? Peppa Pig, Pocoyo, and Little Bill are just a few that come to my mind. Whatever happened to this style of preschool shows anyway? I mean, Peppa Pig is still around, I guess, but you know what I mean. They're not making shows like that anymore. I fully believe that the narrator in Peppa Pig is like completely useless, but trust me when I say that the narrator in Maisy is very much needed, because Maisy and her friends, for some reason, communicate in like these really weird grunting noises, just for no reason at all. Which I guess was another common trope throughout the 2000s. Again, I don't know why shows did this. It's weird to me, and I feel like shows, especially geared towards young children, should be promoting language. And when your characters are making just noises, it's a little pointless, in my opinion. As a kid, I genuinely thought the noises they made were so funny. And rewatching a couple episodes just the other day, they still kind of make me laugh a little bit. Charlie Crocodile's voice absolutely kills me. Like, all I can think of is that a grown man is just sitting behind the microphone making these noises. Honestly, after watching a few of these episodes as an adult, this show kind of reminds me of what it's like to babysit. A typical babysitting job for me is just following the kids around, playing with them a little bit, and like, just occasionally going, oh, be careful, oh, that's not safe.
Oh, Tallulah, look at you. Nurse Tallulah. Oh, careful, Tallulah. That doesn't look very safe.
Especially if I'm watching multiple toddlers, they're all kind of speaking their own little toddler language. I have to translate what they're saying to each other. It's really funny, actually.
We're feeding the birds. Do you want to come to the duck pond, Charlie? Well, don't eat all the bread.
I also don't know how old these characters are supposed to be. Like, are they supposed to be kids? Because sometimes they play pretend and they go to swim lessons and they just do normal kid stuff. But other times they act like adults. Like, they live alone, they drive vehicles, they live their own, like, little lives. Or maybe they're just pretending that they can drive buses and cars and stuff. I don't know.
Maisy Mouse.
Either way, I absolutely adore this show. If I ever have babies or toddlers of my own, I will be showing them this show. It is a lot slower paced than most children's shows, even ones from the 2000s. I remember my sister not even really like latching onto it. It was too slow even for her back in the day. So again, I don't know how well a kid today is gonna take to this show unless they've already been exposed to kind of like slower children's media. But again, for kids who struggle with sensory issues, this show is a great choice, and it's unfortunate that they don't make shows like this anymore. I don't know, at some point I do want to make a video kind of going more deep into like the difference between children's media today and the children's media that I grew up with, and kind of just, because I do have thoughts, but I don't know exactly how to word them right at this moment. But just know, I have thoughts. But for now, I will say that Maisy and shows similar to it are really just underrated and underappreciated. But I would love to hear some other opinions. So did you watch this show growing up? Did you like it as a kid? What are your thoughts on it now that you're older? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!